Welcome to something special. Welcome to TEDx. This TEDx event is part of a global conversation that takes place every day in every corner of the world. In schools, in theaters, in workplaces, even in prisons, people gather to hear the best ideas bubbling up in their communities. More than 3,000 TEDx events are held every year in 170 countries. It's a remarkable thing. TEDx events are self-organized under a license from TED, a non-profit organization devoted to discovering and sharing powerful ideas in the form of TED Talks. It's not TED itself, but your local TEDx team of volunteers that has done all the work to put on today's event, including booking all of the speakers. It's this team's ideas, dedication, and time that have made this possible. We really hope today's program sparks an exciting conversation. This is a day for curiosity and for skepticism, for inspiration and for action. The more you enter into it, the more you will take out. And now, on with the show.
To my people on the left, to my people on the right, to my people in the middle, check it, check it, yo, to my people on the left, to my people on the right, to my people in the middle, check it, yo, check it, yo. Check it. To my people on the left, to my people on the right, to my people in the middle. Check it, yo. To my people on the left, to my people on the right, to my people in the middle. Check it, yo. To my people on the left, to my people on the right, to my people in the middle. Check it, yo. To my people on the left, to my people on the right, to my people in the middle. Check it, yo. Hey yo. Hey yo.
Thank you for the demonstration.
Hey yo. Hey yo.
Yo. I'm saying. Yo.
Want to try that again?
Give it up for Noor! Morning! Welcome to the most inspirational and educational day of the year. Welcome to TEDx Portland, year 14! You know, this is the homecoming. This is where it started, as you saw in the video. It feels so fitting. This is the birthplace, 15 plus years of being here. And it feels so fitting and full circle that we are back here at home. Isn't that special? My name's Karina LeBlanc, and I get to be your morning host. But the coolest thing for me, because back there I'm getting all the high fives, is I am the first ever female host for TEDx Portland. Woo! Loving it! Everything you see here today is 9 months of work just to produce. The speakers have been practicing. So our ask is that you lean in. You be curious, you be supportive. And this, we create this safe space where we encourage vulnerability, courage, and most importantly, ideas to absolutely take off. If a speaker messes up, let's do the woo! Let's make them feel loved. Let's make them feel welcomed. Let's make them feel that we are in this together, because that's all we're talking about back there. It's the high fives, I'm the woo person, but it's also all about that we get to do this together. You could be anywhere else today, and we thank you for choosing to be here with us. So let's go in a little bit of history. Let's talk about Big TED. Founded in 1984, TED is not a guy. Sorry to break the news, everybody here. Technology, entertainment, and design. The mothership started in Vancouver, BC. I'm from Vancouver, BC. Thank you, yay! But I am a Portlandian, of course. But one of the best things that the leadership ever did was they created a platform to take TED to scale, and they created TEDx. Now, the cool thing is that there are about 3,500 of these annually, so 10 a day. So if you think about it, there's 9 other ones happening today. But the coolest thing, and this is where we get to brag about Portland, is that we always end up in the top 3. Come on! Let's go! So, a couple housekeeping things. Don't be that person. Turn off your phones. Put it in silent mode. Also, if you don't follow us on TEDx, follow us at TEDxPortland. But the truth is the service in here is not the best. So when you get outside and you take your pictures and your selfies, make sure you at TEDxPortland. Most importantly, be present. Engage. Today's a day to fill up your cup, to meet new people, engage in this remarkable community, feel inspired. We don't want you to walk out that door thinking and being the same person who walked in this morning. How many times do you get to say that in life? Give yourself a round of applause. But we want you to be comfortable yet uncomfortable in the way that you're thinking. These speakers, they've been working on it, and they've been challenged with their coaches to keep pushing so that today when we all leave, not only are we proud of the speakers, but we're actually proud of ourselves in the way we've challenged our thinking. So all of you got this book, right? Sure hope so, because this is awkward. Everybody has a book? Okay, let's turn to page 150, all right? 150, I can do it too. So, thanks to our amazing friends at Hopscotch, you'll see this idea of, hello, hopscotch. And thanks to Nicole Jensen, who's in the room. Woo! What we want you to do is stay curious. Leave the ordinary behind. Like, don't be normal. I don't know what normal is anyway, so like, and this is Portland, we're not really normal, but don't think normal. Never stop playing, have fun, and engage with someone new. Treat this as a yearbook. Like, sign it, autograph it, draw colors. Do you guys remember yearbooks? Okay, just making sure, okay. Treat this as your yearbook and engage. And then some of you have the Sharpies from Hopscotch. Don't just write your name. Paint pictures, sign autographs, do emojis, do whatever you do. Make your mark. Make this part of your identity, because that's the first thing people see about you. So be bold. We have to thank, or I get to thank at least one group of individuals who've been here since the beginning. Without them, we truly wouldn't be here. Since day one, University of Oregon. We got the president in the house, Carl Schultz. We got the amazing Jane Gordon. And Matt, I have to say, sort of Matt Roberts, wherever he is, because we sat next to each other at the rehearsal dinner, and I ate all the gnocchi. He didn't get any gnocchi. So Nat, I hope people here give you gnocchi. But let's get this started. So there should be a picture popping up. Okay, so who knows who that is? Oh, guys, you were supposed to help me prove David Ray wrong. See, he's been hosting this since the beginning, and every time he leads this, because this is the most leadoff hitters ever in baseball. And I was like, who's that? You guys know Christine Sinclair? Yes! But why I bring this up is because it's clutch. And the first speaker today is clutch. I know him personally. John, this is one of the things, and you'll see this with all the speakers. It's not only is he doing incredible, revolutionary work in the field of education and scale, but he's going to come up here and be raw and real. And this is what I want you all to understand, that you are part of this journey for him. So help me welcome, in the warmest, TEDx, powerful, thunderous way, my friend, John Brandom. Come on out here, John.
Give me a hug. Hold on, this came out. Yeah, let me see. Hey, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I think it's going to be a special day. In my father's final days, we held hands and said the kinds of things families say when time is running short. And then he said something I'll never forget. Son, I love you, and you were my most difficult child. But then he added this: don't forget that you're special. Make your life count. I've been chasing that charge ever since. But like each of you here today, my story doesn't begin with me. About 160 years ago, my great-grandfather, John Baptist Brandom, was born in rural Louisiana. He was born a couple of years before slavery was officially abolished. And so, although we can't be sure, we're pretty confident that given the timing and location, he was born enslaved. About 90 years ago, my father was born in Philadelphia. Raised by a single mom alongside his two brothers, my dad had tons of potential. But this was the 1950s. He was a young black man, and he didn't have a lot of good guidance. Given this, the military became his best option after graduating from high school. About 50 years ago, my mother was a high school teacher in South San Francisco. Early in her pregnancy with me, she learned she had cancer. The doctors gave her an impossible choice: carry to term and likely die, or abort and she might live. She chose me. She chose me. We spent a couple of nights together before she was moved to the intensive care unit, and she passed away a couple of months later. So when I talk today about potential and opportunity, I'm not talking about a slogan. I'm talking about a debt, a responsibility. I chose my life's work after graduating from college because I've seen what happens when potential and opportunity collide with a system that can't or won't support it. And right now, millions of young people are sitting inside this collision. Now, we all know the American education system is replete with challenges. But there's one problem that quietly drives many of the rest: inequitable access to college and early career supports. The American School Counselor Association recommends a ratio of 1 counselor for every 250 students. Let that sink in. But right now in America, the ratio is 1 to 376. And right here in Oregon, the ratio is 1 to 400. And in some states, the ratio is 1 to 700. Now, these are crazy numbers, to be sure, but they're a bit abstract until you can picture a real person. So let's meet Miss Susan. Susan is a counselor at a local high school. She's hardworking, super dedicated, and completely overwhelmed. Miss Susan is responsible for hundreds of students, which means she's not only overseeing their schedules, she's triaging their futures. Now let's meet Javier. Javier is a student at a local high school. He's hardworking, gregarious, but he's not sure about his future. He does get excited when he thinks about the potential to go to college, but he doesn't know how to map that journey. He's also wondering about his career potentials. And more immediately, he's thinking about needing to get a resume put together for a summer job that he wants. In a perfect world, Ms. Susan and Javier would sit down together, and they would talk about his passions, his interests, and the kind of life he'd like to live when he's, say, 35. They'd also work together to craft a plan. So how's he going to navigate to college? Is he going to do a 4-year or a 2-year program? What's he going to major in? How does that articulate to his career interests? And again, he needs to work on that resume and probably practice for that first-time job interview. But here's the truth. With a 1 to 376 ratio, the system forces Susan to act more like an emergency room doctor. The students in crisis get the attention, and don't get me wrong, they need and deserve it. But what about the hundreds of quieter students? At best, they get a 20-minute meeting, if at all. This isn't a counselor problem. This is a scale problem. So here's the question I want to put on the table for us today. How do we deliver personalized, on-demand college and early career supports for every student in America, and especially those from low-income families, when we simply don't have enough human beings to do the work? And don't get me wrong, we're not going to hire our way out of this problem anytime soon. Right? So here's the transformational idea. We employ closed universe, thoughtfully curated, agentic AI coaches who work in partnership with real human advisors so we can get to that scaled impact we're talking about. More than chatbots, agentic AI coaches can reason, plan, and adjust to feedback. Let me be clear, this isn't AI as the authority. This is AI as the partner for students and for counselors. If Ms. Susan has 376 students she's responsible for, she doesn't need a miracle. She needs a lever. Ms. Susan needs and deserves trusted tools that can help her do the repeatable guidance so that she can spend her time doing the things that human beings do the most or do the best. Now, you might be saying to yourself, AI is everywhere. What's different about this? The difference is humanistic design. Humanistic design and AI means we're building with the full humanity of students in mind. Here are the rules. First, students should be able to choose their coaches. Representation matters. Diversity of gender, diversity of races, diversity of styles, because comfort creates connection. Secondly, accessible language. Students should be able to have conversations with coaches in the language that they feel most comfortable, right? I have an exciting theory that if we can partner students with coaches that look and sound more like them, they'll meet with those coaches more often and have deeper conversations. Number three, affirming and specific. In a sea of negativity, students need positive, affirming feedback. They also deserve the kinds of feedback that leads to real products. So, a college and career plan, a resume, a scholarship list, etc. Number four, research and best practices. Coaches shouldn't guess or manufacture superficial feel-good responses, right? They should be grounded in research and best practices and rigorously trained and tested by real human advisors. Number five, time-bound and mobile. Students should be able to have the conversations with their coaches in 15 to 20 minutes on their phone, period. Privacy and security. And this one is non-negotiable, right? So students should not be forced to trade their personal stories for surveillance. Their data must remain protected. Students' conversations with their coaches should remain private and should not feed the generative AI world to which we all have access. Finally, the output must connect back to humans. So Javier should be able to produce those products like the plan, the resume, the scholarship list, etc., and bring that back to Miss Susan or to another trusted adult or to his parents so that they can add that additional special value that human beings can offer. This is the formula, right? Human beings doing the relational, deep work, AI doing the scale, and together we're able to get to that more equitable distribution of college and early career supports. Excitedly, this isn't hypothetical. Students are already telling us what works. In a recent survey of more than 1,200 disproportionately low-income students, 97% said that digital college and early career resources were helpful. 97% also said agentic AI resume building advisors were helpful. Importantly, students continue to value humans. 98% reported that They're human coaches who were engaging with them on college and career processes via text were helpful. This is the point. It's not technology versus humans or technology versus humans. It's actually technology plus humans, right? This is how we're going to get to the beautiful world that we need. Now, I know what you may be thinking, so let me play devil's advocate. AI is biased. AI leads students to narrow definitions of success. AI is surveillance masked as a friendly face. These are all fair critiques, and they require us to install guardrails that are as serious as the stakes. Transparency. Let's be honest about what the tools can and can't do. Human oversight. When students are in crisis or their challenges are particularly complex, human beings need to step in. Bias auditing and continuous improvement. Data minimization. Let's collect less and protect more. Student agency. The whole point of this is to expand student agency, not to shrink it. If we don't set the standards, the market will set it for us, and the market does not consider the decency of human beings, and especially students. Now, I know we're not going to solve the ratio of counselors to students overnight, but we can fix the fact that for all intents and purposes, the majority of America's youth don't have meaningful access to personalized on-demand college and career supports. Now, I started this conversation today by talking about my father's dying charge to me and my mother's sacrifice. But I want to be really clear. This story isn't about me. This story is really about Javier. Javier deserves the right and the opportunity to have the supports he needs to successfully navigate to college and career. Javier needs Miss Susan, and he needs these tools, but he also needs us to lean in, right? Javier is our future, and we need to support his journey. My father told me to make my life count, but I think the opportunity for us today is to make our lives count by leaning in and helping Javier achieve his full potential. Thank you.
Well done, John. You said it was all about making your life matter, and it sure does. Bottom line, look it up. That's his company. Give him some love. He's doing big things. All right, so I get to introduce our next incredible woman. And the best part about it is backstage, I was like, tell me a fun fact. And she's like, I opened up for Ludacris. I'm like, what? And she's like, it wasn't planned. They're like, you need to introduce this person. And she's like, and then I went on stage and talked about disabilities. It was a great day. But I think what's exciting is I asked her, why do you want to have this conversation here? And as she'll take you on this journey, it's because it's deeply personal to her. And she has a riveting way of bringing you in and making you feel all the feels, but most importantly, open up a new idea for you. So, without ado, please welcome Keely Catwells.
Text messaging, voice recognition, audiobooks, keyboards. Did you know All of these items were shaped either by or for disabled people. Most of us use these every single day, but have no idea where they originated from. It wasn't until my late teens, when my life completely changed, that I did either. Growing up, I dreaded being asked to read aloud in class. I would try to become invisible, hoping not to be chosen. I can still hear my classmates' pencils scribbling during exams while mine sat idle. I failed most of my classes. I learned that I have dyslexia. I was also bullied. And I just felt like I never belonged. But my incredible mom was determined to find a place where I did. She put me into a local dance class, and that studio quickly became my second home. It was the first place where I felt free to figure out who I was. There I could be bold, bright, and bubbly instead of the small, quiet version of myself that I had become at school. The moment the music started, I transformed. And for the first time, I even had friends. As I got older, my love for the arts only deepened. At 8, I got a talent agent, and I was booking the occasional film and TV show. At 10, I had landed a role in Cameron Mackintosh's Oliver in London's West End. To me and everyone around me, my future seemed certain. I was going to be a professional dancer. And in my late teens, after countless rigorous auditions, I landed a spot at my dream college, one of London's most prestigious dance academies. Dreams of pirouettes and grand jetés filled every thought. So I packed my bags from my tiny hometown to the big smoke, London. My first day at the academy was electric. We all knew that only a fraction of us were going to graduate, and even fewer were actually going to make a living from it. Training was intense. We all had broken toes from point shoes, bloodied knees from floor work, and aching muscles from pushing yourself beyond what you thought possible day after day. Then one morning, I woke up in a pain that was unfamiliar. Sharp, relentless, consuming, an ache deep in my stomach. I thought it was going to pass. I pushed through it for as long as I possibly could. I smiled through dance and through classes, even though I winced in between movements. Until one day, in ballet, I collapsed. A friend took me to the emergency room, where after minimal testing, a doctor was very quick to tell me that I should be drinking more water, eating more meat, and I should try meditating. No amount of meditation or water was going to fix my broken body. I spent the next 4 years in the hospital, going through experimental surgeries, invasive testing, and rigorous treatment plans. One surgery left me with a permanent ileostomy, an opening in my abdominal where part of my intestine connects to a prosthetic bag. As a dancer, surrounded by mirrors, I had been trained to be hyper-aware of my body. Adjusting to visible medical changes after surgery challenged how I saw myself in spaces that had always equated worth with appearance. But it saved my life, and for that, I am forever grateful. When I was finally ready to leave the hospital, I moved to Los Angeles for a fresh start. I was determined to find a way back into the creative industries that I loved, even though dance was no longer an option. Not long into that fresh start, I lost a job after disclosing my diagnosis. A body like mine was no longer welcome. The decision was dressed up in professional language, but it was that moment that I came to understand My experience is not just a collection of diagnoses. It is a political and cultural identity that I am, with a capital D, disabled. Like many people, I had previously believed that my condition was solely my problem, a medical issue to manage quietly and independently. After years of being a patient, it felt natural to internalize that framing. The only reference point I really had for disability growing up was at school, where we would raise money for special needs kids by selling sweets. Disability was framed as charity, as tragedy, and as something distant from us. If I'm honest, I thought disability was something to hide, maybe something to cure or perhaps to overcome. But losing that job in Los Angeles reframed everything. I began to understand that I was not disabled by my condition in that moment. I was disabled by the inaccessible society around me and the attitudes of the people around me. As I started sharing my experience, I heard the same story echoed back at me again and again. And as I began learning about disability history, I realized that my experience was not isolated. It was part of a much longer lineage of exclusion. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, so-called ugly laws criminalized disabled people for simply being visible in public spaces. Institutionalization became the dominant response. Disabled people were sent away without consent, sometimes for life. This was framed as care, but in reality, it was isolation and abuse. And while those laws have since been overturned, and we've had progress, and we have protections like the Americans with Disabilities Act, the attitudes that shaped those laws have not disappeared. Disabled people today, in theory, are allowed to live, work, and thrive. But in reality, it's not always the case. Disability discrimination still exists, especially in employment. So, I did what most disabled people do when we face exclusion. We create our own opportunities. So, I founded my first company, a talent agency representing disabled creatives. I called it See Talent, because as disabled people, we very rarely get access to option A or option B, and we have to create our own option C. Our goal was to change the way the world views and defines disability. We no longer wanted to be defined by stigma. Usually, stigma shows up in one of three ways in the media. You've got the villain, where disability becomes shorthand for evil. The victim, where suffering invokes pity. And the inspiration, where the superhuman overcomes disability. We placed disabled artists in thousands of roles, and in some of the world's biggest projects. Avatar, The Hunger Games, The Last of Us, and the talent we represented had a combined reach of over 50 million people. And in 2022, See Talent was acquired, marking the largest acquisition of a company representing disabled talent. And yet, disabled people are still twice as likely to be unemployed as non-disabled people, despite employers reporting persistent talent shortages. Globally, disabled people represent over 1 billion people. In the US, we are the largest minority group. We're also the only group that anyone can join at any time. It's not a threat, I promise. Yet, we remain disproportionately excluded from the workforce, not because of a lack of talent or desire, but because of a lack of access and a failure to recognize where capability already exists. The future of work will reward adaptability, which is a skill disabled people possess in abundance. The people who will thrive as career paths no longer look linear are people who can problem solve under pressure. Disabled people have been doing exactly that for decades. The other often overlooked perk of having disabled people in your workplace is how often we have to create curb cuts, things that we need that non-disabled people end up benefiting from. Text messaging, originally developed for deaf communication, it's now a seamless and essential way that colleagues connect. Voice recognition, originally created for people with mobility disabilities. Audiobooks, originally designed to create access for blind and low vision readers. Or the early typewriter, the modern precursor to the keyboard, shaped by the needs of a blind inventor. The irony is, disabled communities are rarely ever credited or compensated for building the foundation of a more accessible and ultimately effective workforce. That realization is what led me to my next project. I was tired of seeing disabled people continuously improve innovation and workspaces without having the recognition and compensation to match it. So, I founded Making Space, building workspaces that just work better for everyone. When I began raising capital, I led with the business case. I shared the data from Accenture, showing that when companies intentionally include disabled people, they achieve 28% higher revenue, double the net income, and 30% higher profit margins. I spoke about retention, market reach, innovation. And I was told, come back when you have a non-disabled male co-founder. Not because the model didn't make sense or the market wasn't large enough, but because beneath the surface, disability is still coded as fragility. It didn't matter that disabled activists quite literally pulled themselves up the steps of the US Capitol in 1990 to demand the passage of the ADA. It didn't matter that previous generations of disabled activists had endured arrests, organized sit-ins, and confronted systems far more scary than venture capital committees. Society still defaults to pity over power. It was a reminder of exactly why Making Space needed to exist. You can present the revenue projections, and you can talk about how excluding disabled people costs economies billions in lost productivity. And still, if the room still fundamentally sees you as weak, the spreadsheet won't save you. Disability has always been framed through cost. Cost of accommodations, benefits, perceived risk. But rarely do we talk about the cost of exclusion, the cost of sidelined innovation, the cost of untapped talent. So, I didn't go looking for a non-disabled male co-founder. Instead, I went looking for mission-aligned investors who saw the vision. And we went on to raise an oversubscribed $2 million pre-seed round. Making Space exists because I refuse to accept that disabled people need non-disabled chaperones. Yes, the data matters. The economic case is powerful. But I am leaning towards a future where we don't have to continuously legitimize our existence in spaces based solely on our economic power. We have built entire economic systems around the idea of the self-made individual, the lone wolf who did it all on their own. We celebrate independence as one of the highest forms of strength. But interdependence is how humans have always survived. Long before venture capital committees and performance reviews, we survived because we relied on each other. No civilization was built by one individual. It was built by networks of care. And when you're disabled, interdependence is a part of daily life. It's the colleague who captions a meeting, the assistant who manages logistics, the friend who drives when fatigue hits. And yet, we reward this myth of independence so aggressively that we have begun to see need as failure. And that myth tells disabled people that if we require support, then we're less capable. It tells parents of disabled children that they must fix their disabled child in order to prepare them for a world that refuses to flex. It tells founders to hide their health conditions when raising capital, and employees to mask chronic pain. But what if the opposite is true? What if building for interdependence actually makes everybody stronger? I think back to my many years in the hospital. As I navigated the medical system, I encountered so many people who were willing to provide their support and knowledge. During those long nights in the hospital ward, I saw people who had almost nothing left, still finding ways to lift each other up. And it was during that time that I began to experience and understand the power of collective care. When we build ramps, parents with strollers benefit. When we build automatic doors, people carrying heavy bags benefit. When we build flexible schedules, caregivers benefit. Leadership should be measured by how well we build systems that support one another. For most of my life, I thought my body was the problem. But what I eventually learned is it is the systems around me that are broken. My hope is that the younger version of me would understand that the future she thought that she lost was actually just expanding. Because as our world becomes more complex, the insights that disabled people have gained from generations of developing and evolving and adapting and being flexible, they are the blueprint for the future. They're also the blueprint for the next text messaging service, the next voice recognition system, the next audiobook, or the next keyboard. So, this is about making space for the next generation of leaders, the next generation of disabled people, making space for disabled people to lead. Because the next invention is probably already out there being imagined by someone who has been forced to innovate. Because whether space is made for us or not, we are going to keep making space anyway, for ourselves and for you. The question is, will we do that from the margins, or will we do that together? Thank you.
I told you you were going to be awesome. Well done. Thank you, Keely. You know what I love about Portland is that we always make space. And I think one of the way to do it in those heels. That's why I wore flats. Well done, Keely. A whole different level over there. But that's why I love our city, is that we make space for each other. And wow, well done. Okay, so I get to introduce the next person who here's heard about Doogie Howser? Yes, okay, good. I wasn't sure. Okay, so we're about to bring up a real life Doogie Howser onto the stage. By age 17, he already had his MD. He's done over 20,000 surgeries and procedures on his eyes. And at the rehearsal dinner, when I was talking to him, I started to nerd out, because when you talk to super smart people, you think you're nerding out and you're so smart. And I asked him, like, tell me a defining moment. And he talked, and this is a note for parents and young kids too, don't mess around on the stove when there's hot water. So at age 4, he was burnt both his legs. So he spent 3 months in the hospital. And it was a nurse who was nice to him that changed everything and helped him enter the space. How beautiful is that? You never know when just being a good person changes somebody. You could create the next Doogie Howser. So please help me in welcoming the amazing, his name is not Doogie Howser. He's a baller, but his name is Baller, Ambati. Welcome over.
The eye is a gorgeous organ and an amazing structure. It's like a telescope. It has a lens inside your eye, an aperture and a sensor that helps us see far and near, light and dark, color and motion. It's the proverbial window to the soul and an actual window for your physician to assess your health. Yet sadly, 42 million people in the world are denied this amazing and precious sense. 42 million people are blind in both eyes. That's 10 times the population of Oregon. My mission as an ophthalmologist and a vision scientist is to help people see, to try to lower that number. But as a profession, we're staring at a ticking time bomb. The number of Americans who are expected to be blind or visually impaired is predicted to double in the next 24 years. And that's because things like cataract, where the lens inside your eye becomes cloudy, macular degeneration, where the retinal cells, the cells that convert light into sight, the center of the retina slowly degenerates and dies. And even retinal detachment, where the retina can develop tears and peel off of the inner wall of the eye, the sclera. All of those are projected to dramatically increase in the coming decades. You might think these are simply diseases of aging, and yes, you'd be right, but surprisingly, the fuse for these and other conditions of the eye is actually set in childhood much of the time by childhood nearsightedness or pediatric myopia, which is a common risk factor for many eye diseases that develop later in adulthood. And pediatric myopia is increasing because of genetic factors, too much screen time, and insufficient sunlight. And those last two are, of course, turbocharged by the COVID pandemic. So yes, your mom was right. Don't let your children be too close to the TV. And in an eternal and cyclical irony of life, I struggle with this as a parent. This is our 2-year-old son, and I find myself parroting my parents in middle age, telling him to back away from the TV. At the turn of the millennium, there were 1.2 billion people in the world who were myopic or nearsighted. By the end of this decade, that number is expected to triple to almost 3.4 billion. And that is going to lead to a future silver tsunami of vision loss, because all of those conditions I mentioned, cataract, myopic macular degeneration, retinal detachment, and even other conditions like glaucoma, those conditions have elevated risks due to myopia by about 3 to 8 times. And that all plays into why there's expected to be a doubling of Americans with blindness by mid-century. And this is a huge problem because there's not going to be double the number of eye doctors. There's not going to be double the amount of healthcare resources. So anything we can do to try to head that off will have a tremendous impact. So what's happening in the myopic eye? The normal eye is like a sphere, like a golf ball. And that allows incoming light to focus onto the retina itself. In myopia, the eye becomes like an egg, stretched out. And that forces light to focus inside the eye before it hits the retina. And that elongation, that egg formation of the eyeball, that's due to two very interesting biomechanical events. First, the sclera, that white wall of the eye, has insufficient collagen cross-linking. The collagen protein fibers don't have enough cross-links, and that leads to the sclera becoming stretchy and thin. Second, the retina has insufficient dopamine in myopes, and that leads to abnormal growth signals from the retina telling the eye to grow towards the brain. Now, in adulthood, we can correct myopia by doing LASIK or lens implants, and so we can focus light back onto the retina. And I've done many of those surgeries, and they have a dramatic impact on quality of life, but they don't fix the eye being an egg. The eye is still long and still at risk for those other conditions like retinal detachment and glaucoma and so on. So we want to intervene in childhood, and currently the way we treat pediatric myopia is an eye drop called atropine. That's the current standard of care treatment. And unfortunately, atropine often dilates the eyes, sometimes for up to 24 hours. All of you who have been to the eye doctor, sure you didn't like having your eyes dilated, and guess what? Children don't like having their eyes dilated all day. Affects their play in school, and it's not an easy treatment to adhere to. So we have to do better. And my lab and I, several years ago, came together to try to figure out how to do better by addressing the root causes of eye lengthening. And those biomechanical events I mentioned before, the stretchy sclera, the abnormal growth, those are underpinned by abnormal biochemistry. There's reduced levels of an enzyme called lysyl oxidase, which mediates collagen cross-linking in the sclera. And when you don't have enough of that, the sclera gets to be stretchy. And there's also reduced levels of enzymes that produce dopamine in the retina. And when you have insufficient dopamine, that leads to that abnormal growth signaling. Interestingly enough, both of those enzymes, the lysyl oxidase and the dopamine-producing enzymes, they have as a necessary cofactor copper. And copper is reduced in the eyes of children with myopia. The solution is not to tell nearsighted children to suck old pennies, where we have to get copper to the eye. And I get to work with an amazing group of people at University of Oregon Night Campus, my lab, and we decided several years ago as a team to paraphrase astronaut Mark Watney in The Martian, to science the crap out of this problem. And so first we asked, can copper increase lysyl oxidase in the sclera? And we found that yes, in a dose-dependent fashion, we can increase lysyl oxidase expression in human scleral cells in cell culture, by delivering copper. And then we asked, can we increase dopamine expression in retinal cells? And we found that treating retinal cells in culture increases dopamine expression by over 4 times. So based on those initial experiments, my startup company, Ivina, developed an eye drop called IVMed 85 to deliver copper. And this is a preliminary experiment in myopic subjects. And what I want to take you through the slide is the top curve is normal subjects who don't have myopia, and you'll notice their eye power stays around 0. Whereas the bottom curve in mint green, these are myopic subjects, and they develop significant myopia, close to -7 over the course of the study. And the middle curve, the copper curve, are myopic subjects treated with the copper solution, and we're able to hold that myopia down to less than -4. And correlated with that, we were able to slow down that lengthening of the eyeball, the elongation of the eye. The bottom curve is the normal growth curve of the eye, and the top curve in mint green are the myopic subjects where the eye gets to be really long. And by using copper drops, you can see we're able to bend that curve down by about 50% and slow down the lengthening of the eye. Now, drug development takes a lot of time, and my company, Ivina, has taken this program through toxicology and manufacturing, and I'm very happy to say just 1 week ago, we completed our phase 1 clinical trial in humans. Thank you. And so ideally, we'll be able to start phase 2 by the end of the year, and then by the end of this decade, move into phase 3 and getting close to making this product available for doctors to treat patients. So I want to take this moment to thank all the people whose shoulders I stand on. My parents and brother, my wife and children, my team at Night Campus, the Ivina team, my Practice Pacific Clear Vision Institute, and everyone in my life and in the field who have moved research forward. We're all committed to saving the future of vision, because every child's vision who we can improve represents a lifetime of impact, 70 years or more of improvement in their eye health. The greatest gift is indeed the gift of sight. Thank you very much.
Home brings comfort. For some people, it brings inspiration. For others, it brings peace.
You go into our tea houses, and I feel like it's a transition to a calming, serene environment where you can just kind of be yourself.
Taking the mystery out of tea is so important for us. We created a sample wall in our tea shops. There's little jars that you can smell and look at the ingredients yourself. We try to find combinations of flavors people haven't heard of before. Jasmine pearls or floral combinations like our chamomile bliss.
If you want to feel more awake, we have a tea for that. If you want to feel relaxed, we have a tea for that.
We now have 132 tea blends, so we have a large menu of choices. We take feedback from customers, but we also just can't stop creating new ideas, so. The teas are all trying to give people their own personalized experience, but then the shops are also trying to create a community experience where each of those individuals is celebrated, but also allowed to just be as they are in those spaces.
We accept everybody. It's just about creating a home for all the people who need it.
That became our main focus, really trying to encourage people to return because they feel comfortable and safe, and it's a great space for them to be a little curious, you know, try something new. So when we opened up the tea shop in Sellwood, it's a 1920 Seattle Pacific Railroad caboose. It was a lot of work, but it's been such a fun experience. So it just continues to be this sweet little place for people to come in and say hi and share with their friends. One of the things that we've done over the years with all of our tea blends is we started creating products in liquid form that can be sold in grocery stores and markets and cafes and restaurants.
I've just been thrilled to work with TEDx. The last couple of years have been nothing but a delight.
Yeah, it's been a really fun experience because we switch up the different varieties we offer.
It's been nice to connect with a bigger community. And it's a lot of people who are curious and who want to learn and who want to be a part of something bigger than themselves. So it's just about finding your own portal and seeing what's on the other side.
Hello, it's me again. So I get to do a sit-down interview this time with a badass woman. Am I allowed to say that? I mean, this is Portland, right? The epicenter of women's sports, but also the city for her, because we have women like Jessica who are game-changing things in different ways. Through food with the James Beard Market, we have the fact that we're moms together, we love French. I told her we're gonna do a dance when she gets up here. So whenever you see us dancing, we didn't rehearse it, just be like, ooh, 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 okay? But I'm so honored to be able to share the stage with this woman who is changing the conversation in Portland. Not only is she changing for herself, but I think this will bring people to Portland. So please give me a warm welcome for my next dancing partner, Jessica Elkin. Come on up here. All right. Okay. What are we doing? Let's do this. Let's do this. Hey, hey, yeah! All right, Miss Jessica, Portland Business Journal fellow, woman of influence. Let's get right into it. People want to know, when is the ribbon cutting? When is it actually going to open?
When you all show up.
We're here. Let's
yeah,
go.
Okay. A year from now, April, mid-April.
Is that good enough for y'all?
Mid-April.
Well,
that is our timeline. You know, with construction projects, you never know, but we are working with urgency and ambition, and we hope to invite you in next year around this time.
I'll be there. Meet your darling Jessica. So let's go back to 4:30 on that Tuesday. Who's there, and what is happening in that moment that you've dreamt of probably 50 million different times?
Maybe we have a better dance routine. Really, the market is going to be a place for community connection. It's going to be a place of commerce. It's a place of education, of civic connection. And that is what the market is. And so when people come in, there are a variety of things they're going to experience. We want to see people shopping on a Tuesday at 4:30, buying their eggs, buying their groceries, showing up after work and making their way through the market. We want people connecting through food and a love of Oregon food. We also want education. We're both moms. I want every kid in Oregon to walk through that market and feel that sense of civic pride.
Let's go! Come on, round of applause for that.
So I want every young person to understand the power of Oregon agriculture, our bounty. We're going to have rooftop gardens where kids can learn how to grow food. And then in the basement of the market, we will have a teaching kitchen where we will offer nutrition classes to kids. So on a Tuesday at 4:30, I hope all of that is happening and more. And this place will be successful because of everyone in this state and everyone in this room.
What I love about that is that we're not just thinking about ourselves, but we're thinking about building the next generation. So what have you borrowed from the other markets around the world that make you be like, we're going to make this great because?
Good question. I love visiting public markets. It's one of my favorite things, and there are great public markets all over the country. You're Canadian. You have amazing public markets. Granville, I'm going there next month.
So
I can't wait.
So good.
But what we've borrowed is this sense of place. Great public markets are rooted in the place they're from. And that's what we've borrowed, is when you go into a market in Vancouver, British Columbia, you want to see, what are people eating? What are people doing? What are people growing? What are people making there? So that's what we are taking, and we are giving it its own Oregon lens.
So when you look at this, what are we gonna make distinctly ourselves? Because in Portland, like, we like to keep things weird, right? Are we still there? So what are we gonna make uniquely ourselves that makes, you look at Pikes, and I don't like to mention Seattle, because in sports, it's just that, you know. But looking at those great markets, what are we gonna take that really make us Portland?
Well, first and foremost, this is about Oregon's bounty. So everything in the market we hope will be a love letter and a reflection of Oregon.
Love it.
And it's really going to come from the vendors. So what is the next flying fish? I don't know. That's for our vendors to kind of ideate on and get creative. We kind of joke, you know, put a berry on it instead of put a bird on it. So we're trying to figure out, like, what is that thing that becomes our shtick? And, you know, I believe that culture and that food theater will organically come from our vendor community.
Make sure you guys vote on what you want it to be the Portland thing of, because I'm sure Jessica will be listening. All right, so let's talk about this project, because it's finally here, and it's becoming real now. And I think one of the most important things is, like, why does it feel like this is the time?
I love this question. I truly believe that, first and foremost, the people who wanted to bring a public market back to Portland have given so much to this vision. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that has influenced every part of the work I've done, is really being true to what a public market in Portland and in Oregon can be. I also know that it's an evolution, and every single day the project is evolving as it becomes more inevitable. So for me, it's this moment of reflection of it. Why now? It's the perfect place. We are steps away from Pioneer Square. Yeah. So, you know, even though this is trademarked, Portland's kitchen next to Portland's living room is really a powerful value proposition. Yeah. Additionally, we have the right people at the table to make this happen. We have the right partners, and it's the right time. We need a win in our city, and it's not just the city.
Yes!
So there's something very symbolic about creating a once-in-a-generation civic institution. And if you've traveled around the world, many of these markets have been around thousands of years. So we have this huge opportunity to do something that will outlast every one of us and be a place that people can go to and feel authentic to Oregon.
I really connect with you on that, of like doing something that will outlast all of us. Because let's be honest, how often do you actually get to come to work and know that this is the first time it will ever be? And you talk about generational, and I know we had questions pre-planned, but Jessica knew I was going to throw some new ones in there. You talk about what it feels like and how this is the time now, but what are you as a woman learning in this moment? Because you've been in this business for a long time. You've done so many other things. And like you said, this is the time now for Portland, right? This is going to be game-changing. People will start seeing what we love about our city. But what are you, as a mom, a woman, a game-changer, learning in this moment?
Patience. Yeah, patience. And being flexible with the ever-changing, multi-dimensional project that I'm leading. We have so many stakeholders that are involved. And exercising patience and understanding this is a startup and it's going to get messy. And I am, you know, wanting to make sure we deliver this project on time, on budget to this community. But it's an exercise in patience and resilience. And I just, every day, look at it as an opportunity to untangle messes, to stay, as I mentioned in my Women of Influence interview, delusionally optimistic, which that has served me in my life. And those who know me know that's very true. But this belief that anything is possible and we can do it, but it's going to require everybody stepping up.
What was the turning point when it went from delusionary optimistic to actually, this is inevitable?
Yeah. When we found our home, I think that was the big piece. We found our home, and within a few months of finding our home, we were able to purchase the building. And that sense of permanence, of place, was that game-changing moment.
So give her a round of applause. So I know when we all go into some things and it's almost transformational, we learn a lot, but as everybody in this audience, you learn, but what are you unlearning that you have to like retraining your mind as you enter this unknown?
Not being patient? Is that okay? I think that this isn't a linear project. I think that there's anticipation is a big part of it. And so part of what I'm unlearning is that sense of control. Everything is going to go as planned, and being flexible, constantly being flexible. There's lots of pivoting.
Yep.
We had hoped that the building that we would have opened in fall of 2026. And through the demolition process, we discovered that we didn't just have an old Rite Aid. Many of you have maybe been there, and you can see it on the screen, but we didn't just have an old Rite Aid. When you stripped away all of the Rite Aid and many decades of materials that probably are toxic, we uncovered this Oregon timber structure. And that timber structure with the ceilings, 100-year-old ceilings, and these incredible Douglas fir beams, that influenced us changing the entire facade of the building because we wanted it to be true to Oregon. And it was an opportunity, but it was also a huge shift in timelines and other things. So I think there's pieces of this that we want the community to feel very connected to it, and we know that there's going to be moments in time where we have to make decisions, and we just, that's hard, It's a vulnerability in a leadership position that I'm adapting to.
Vulnerability is key in leadership, and that's why people follow you. And speaking of following, like right now in Portland, downtown Portland, people's like, "Ooh, it's reckless." Mm-hmm. Why do you say this is not reckless, but the smart and right thing to do?
Yeah. So we're going to go back to 1990.
Woohoo! Girl, who did your hair?
So, hey, I'm a Blazer believer. 1990, I grew up in Silverton, Oregon, a rural community, heart of the Willamette Valley. And I remember this moment in time. I was 11 years old, and I remember this moment in time so clearly, but more importantly, I remember the feel I had of being in Oregon, being in Silverton, and watching our Blazers win the Western Conference Championship. Mm-hmm. And there was a moment where the entire state, you knew every house was cheering our team on. Mm-hmm. I believe that we will get to that point again, where everybody will be cheering Portland on from across the state. Mm-hmm. And so for me, this is personal. It's something very deeply a part of what I believe in and what I want to spend my life doing. I also, like you, have a daughter. She goes to Lincoln High School. She's a freshman. I want her to walk into the market one day and say, "This is Oregon. This is something I can be proud of." And so that's why I don't think it's reckless. I think it's urgent. Mm-hmm. And I can't wait for other projects to follow this one because the market's not going to solve everything. Yeah. We're a piece of what the future can look like with this kind of investment.
What's misunderstood right now? Yes, give her a round of applause. I can't wait to see you with your hat with your fire jersey this summer.
Yep.
We're going to have to redo this haircut.
I feel like it's the original Bieber. No?
It is. Look, she was trending back then. So what? Skeptics, there's so many skeptics out there, so much misunderstood. Do you want to talk about what people are just not getting right about our city?
I think that, as I mentioned, why this isn't reckless, I believe in Oregon, but more importantly, I believe in the people of the city. And I believe that the creative class, the food, beverage makers, creatives, artists, it's that creative class that's going to bring the city back. And for public markets, one thing people don't realize is there is a long history of public markets revitalizing neighborhoods and cities and communities. Mm-hmm. And we have the playbook. We're not recreating something. there's a proven track record of how public markets can change communities and become that epicenter for food and beverage and connection. Not the epicenter of women's sports, we're already that.
Girl, you know what I love about this? Like, the only important, right? Do we have the epicenter for women's sports? Do we have the epicenter we're creating for food? There's so many exciting things going on here, but people want to talk about the bad. This is awesome. This is exciting. This is Portland.
Yeah.
Did I cut you off?
No, I love it.
100+ applicants, limited spaces. Like, there's a lot going on. And when
Yeah.
you're building something great and exceptional, you have to have your non-negotiables.
Yeah.
What are your non-negotiables?
There were a few, but the two that I will mention, one, the vendors had to be rooted in Oregon. They really had to put that as a big part of their business case, is sourcing locally, sourcing from across the state, and have some connection to this place. You know, we are not accepting a chain restaurant from the Midwest. That's not what this market is about. It's about creating economic opportunity for vendors. The other non-negotiable was we want to ensure that every vendor is successful. We don't want to set up a vendor for not having success. So for the hundreds of vendors that shared their interest, we were very clear that it's not a no, it's a not yet, that there are many pathways into the market. And so not every product is right for a 7-day-a-week market with 40 permanent stalls. We really wanted to be clear that 40 permanent stalls, 40 small businesses launched, thousands of Oregon products. But what's the pathway to getting all those products in is something we're working on.
I mean, when you talk about doing what's never done, there's always, you have to, like, shape yourself in a way you've never done it before. And there's hard truths as that happens. What are some of the hardest things that we're not really talking about, or you actually don't get to talk about?
This is a startup. You know, this is doing everything at once. People often use the analogy, building the plane and flying it at the same time.
Oh, I know about that.
Yeah, exactly. So I think the hard truth is we're doing everything at once. And so there's raising money, there's a construction project that's major, we're working with Public Works. If anyone's ever done a construction project, you have to think of everything from water sewer lines to PBOT. There are so many stakeholders in this project, and making sure that we're communicating, that we are being good neighbors, and most important, that we are being good stewards of the space for our future vendor community that we're creating.
I love it, because I think most leaders in Portland understand they're stewards of the city and stewards of the space. So when we look at all the things that is happening, at 3 a.m. in the morning, probably like me, you're up and you're thinking, right? So what's...
As you know.
We should just text each other
Yeah,
then.
exactly.
What is keeping you up at night these days? Because like you just literally said all the different things. That could be it. But I'm sure there's something a bit more personal.
Yeah, these are my parents. Sorry, Mom and Dad, for putting this up here, but this is my parents, you can guess, in the 80s. My parents were small business owners. They had a booth at the Portland Saturday Market. They're craftspeople. You know, I come from a long line of merchants and makers. And part of what I hold that is the responsibility for our vendors in the market. And we are investing in them, but they're also taking a risk with us. And I think I hold that responsibility because I grew up in that environment. I grew up in an environment of a small family business. There were times where there was, you know, it felt like financial insecurity. You would have good days at the market, you would have really bad days at the market. And I was very aware of that as a young person. And, you know, through hard work and resilience, my parents helped me go to college, a first-generation college student. And so when I think of our vendors, I think about what this opportunity means for them and what we can all do as a community to support that. And I see our market not just as a place for those vendors to survive, it's about thriving. And that is the key to this. And that's the responsibility I hold. And that's why when timelines shift, it's not just a timeline, it's people being able to set up their booths and make money.
What do you want? You talk about your parents. What do you want? I didn't ask her this question before. What do you want your daughter to say about mom?
That I'm a badass.
Yeah. How about when people walk through it the first time? Like, because obviously we both have daughters, and we want them to know that their new normal was ours.
Yeah.
But when this audience walks through that crowd and enters the market, what do you want them to think, and what do you want them to feel?
Yeah. I want them to feel a sense of civic pride. I want them to look around and be in awe of everything that comes from our state. I want them to have that sensory experience of smelling the smells of the different food, the food theater, what's being made on site. I want them to feel a sense of exploration. And I also want them to eat a lot. I love going to a good public market when you walk around and you can't decide what you want to eat. And so you eat like from five different booths. That to me is a really good public market. So I just want that sense of civic pride and look at what we do. We're one of the few places in the world that grows what we grow. Over 200 unique agricultural products. That's amazing. That's amazing, yes. And we are on par with some of the best food regions in the world. And this is an opportunity to really highlight that and to make that a part of our narrative. And there are many people out there in Oregon right now who are doing that. And I think we become a place where we can house a lot of that, and all of these narratives can help support this big vision.
We are lucky to have you. Did you want to talk about this?
Yeah.
Go ahead. I was going to go into things, but you know what? I know one thing is whenever you have pictures of family, you shut up. So.
Oh, yeah. Well, this is James Beard. And one of the things that people have asked me a lot is, what would you want James Beard to think about this market? And I love that question, because James Beard is James Beard because of Oregon. Mm-hmm. And if he were to walk in the market, I would want him to feel like it was a homecoming, that it was a place where he saw all of the different foods and all of the different things we grow and raise and fish and forage, that he sees that represented in this place, and that it reminds him of his early years going to the public markets of Portland, because we have had public markets before with his mother. Yeah. And his mother, Elizabeth Beard, really taught him what he grew to build a career from and his lifelong passion. So I hope that he would walk in the market and feel that sense of homecoming, and it would evoke really beautiful food memories for him.
I think what you are building, he will. And homecoming is fitting. We'll just continue on.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, round of applause for Jessica.
It's year 14, and this year's theme is homecoming for TEDx Portland. And I don't think there's any better place to have it than at the Armory.
Because we started here in 2011. And while we've been all over the city, coming back here for homecoming is just poetic.
I'm a hometown kid here in Portland, and I love this city more than any place on planet Earth. It is amazing and gratifying to see TEDx Portland come back home here to the Armory, and these two organizations working together to share ideas within our city that I think really matter.
It's amazing to think that Portland Center Stage has been here at the Armory for 20 years, serving this community in this gorgeous building for 20 years, and we're just getting started. We are the second largest regional theater in the state, And that means we program 7 to 8 shows a year in our 2 beautiful spaces. We serve over 100,000 people a year in our audience, including 9,000 kids in the metro area. What we're doing at Portland Center Stage is telling stories in live performance. And we're deeply interconnected with TEDx Portland because that's also a form of storytelling that helps us understand who we are and what's possible in the world. It's a human experience.
And the wonderful thing about the Armory is that it's so intimate. Everyone's so close. You could really connect with people on the stage and the ideas that they're sharing back with us.
What I hope you feel sitting here in the Armory today during TEDx Portland on year 14 is that you're among friends and you're among a community that really cares about not only you, but this city and where this city's going, and that we're all in this together. Feel empowered, feel encouraged, and feel excited for what folks have to share today.
You know when things come together and everything feels comfortable, when you're supported by a team that has your back and you know that they're happy to have you here? That's what it feels like. We came in here 9 months ago starting to plan this event, and ever since day one, it's felt like home.
All right. Just gonna. This is why I was an athlete, for that exact maneuver right there. So this is part of the E for entertainment. Please welcome the Oregon Symphony.
Hi, everybody. Kind of a challenge talking to you while I got a big fat click in my ear. That's a little inside baseball. My name's Ron Blessinger, and on behalf of my colleagues, Elizabeth Carreno, Maya Hoffman, and Taylor Yoon, welcome to our performance. My wife's a school teacher, so apparently this means something. The 4 of us are Oregon Symphony musicians, and we're homegrown players who've spent our careers making music in this city, having studied elsewhere, but we came back to Portland because we love it here and this is our home. Let's hear it. We're genuinely honored to be representing the Oregon Symphony here today. We're going to play 2 pieces for you this morning, and I want to take just a moment to tell you about them. During the pandemic, my group, House of Scordatura, commissioned Portland artist Zach Margolis to create an animated film. What Zach made is quiet and a little heartbreaking and ultimately hopeful, a visual portrait of what it felt like to be isolated, to be cut off from the people and the world you love, and to find slowly a way through. The piece of music accompanying the film is Andante by Florence Price, a composer who spent much of her own life navigating isolation of a very different kind, and who wrote music of extraordinary beauty and grace. Together, the film and the music ask a question most of us spent those years trying to answer. How do you find your way back to the light? Following that, we'll play selections from Apocryphal Dances by Portland composer Kenji Bunch, another homegrown voice and a piece we love dearly as we love Kenji dearly. To the TEDx organizers, our sincere thanks for the opportunity to play this for you, and we hope you enjoy our performance.
I'm just looking around. They don't know this, but I'm going to have a lesson right now. I'm just kidding. But I'm looking. Please, we're going to start cleaning up. A round of applause. Can I show the audience what you're reading? Who here can read this? No one? Right. Oregonians. Thank you. They're looking at me being like, you are straight up crazy. How heavy is that? It's honestly not that bad. How can I lift it? I am an Olympic athlete after all. Woo! This is pretty serious. Do you check that in when you travel?
I buy a seat for her.
You buy she says she buys a seat for her. So does she have a name?
She doesn't, actually. I get that question a lot.
She doesn't have a name. So can we name her today?
Please, I'd be honored.
All right, world. What's your name?
My name's Taylor.
Taylor. So should we call it Swift, so it's Taylor Swift?
I love that.
Thank you so much. This is why you never give me a mic, right? My daughter, my 6-year-old daughter, would be like, Mommy, you brought up Taylor Swift at TEDx. You're so cool. So, who's having fun today? I was told once the red carpet's down, you should move on. Are you feeling the pressure? Do I need to help you here? That's my one squat for the day. Can't get up anymore. I retired too many years ago. All right, so I'm really excited. It's very rare that thanks. Hey, high five, high five. Well done, well done. Woo! So it's very rare that we get to have a teenager. He's 17 years old, Sunset High School. Anybody from that side? He's bright. Oh, gosh, guys, it's not very good. So rockets, NASA, who watched what's recently happened with NASA? I mean, we're talking about, we have a Canadian. I know this is the one time I throw a Canadian in there. We have the first black person. We have a woman. We're doing big things in this world. But Anish, who's going to come up here, he's going to talk about boredom. Imagine a young kid talking about boredom. I'm so excited to have this. And the thing is, again, we talked about that we want them to feel our energy. We want them to feel alive. Imagine being 17 years old and coming out here. So, my task to you is let's welcome Anish out here and make him feel like the coolest 17-year-old from Sunset High School, where he can put it and he can put it on TikTok. And he can be the coolest kid in the school. Welcome, Anish!
Would you rather sit alone in an empty room doing absolutely nothing, or press a button to get electrically shocked? You probably think that's a ridiculous question. I mean, sure, 15 minutes of silence might be a little boring, but not that boring. If you think you never do that, well, chances are you would. And I'll tell you why in just a moment. But first, let me show you something. Like many of you, I have a full-time job. I work about 7 hours a day, 5 days a week. It's pretty backbreaking work, rotating between classes about math, science, English, history, sitting in a cramped classroom listening to teachers lecture. And when that dismissal bell finally rings, my workday doesn't exactly end. I'm still sent home with tons of homework, on top of managing extracurriculars and studying. And so, most weekdays typically look like this. Pretty cramped, not really a whole lot of room for free time. By the time Friday rolls around, after 35 hours of school and many more of homework, you'd think I'd be thrilled. I mean, it's the weekend. I was going to be looking forward to 48 hours of this. Should be every kid's dream, right? And yet, every Saturday morning, or on any other empty day, instead of feeling relaxed, I felt stressed out, which is strange because free time is supposed to feel, well, freeing. So why doesn't it? Before we go any further, I should probably clarify something. I'm not a psychologist, and I don't have a PhD. The closest thing I have to formal instruction in human behavior was freshman year Intro to Psych. Now, as a high school junior, I've noticed that this unexpected guilty feeling keeps reoccurring. So I wondered, what if other students experience the same feelings too? Turns out, I'm not alone. My own friends and classmates have said they felt the same way, like they're never quite doing enough. And after doing some research, I discovered there's actually a name for this feeling: free time anxiety, or more technically, leisure phobia. I swear I'm not making this up. It's the guilt or stress we feel when we aren't being productive, the discomfort of doing nothing. So, to our lizard brains, doing nothing is uncomfortable, while we see busyness as synonymous with success. Neuroscientists call the part of your brain that lights up when you aren't focused on a task, the part responsible for mind wandering and self-reflection, the default mode network. That's a real mouthful. So luckily, I found this real MRI scan of the default mode network from an accredited academic journal. So, during bouts of boredom, panic calls start flooding in from all over our brains. What should I be doing right now to get ahead? Am I falling behind? That can be pretty overwhelming, and from what I've seen, a big source of stress for us students. So, how do we manage that guilt? We begin down a slippery slope, joining clubs we don't care about, committing to activities just for their prestige, and chasing more and more and more resume line items. And that's where I found myself, a whirlpool of guilt, stress, and self-loathing, all caused by unnecessary busyness, while feeling disconnected from my goals. Now, going back to the why, there's actually a specific recipe behind this feeling. Let's call it the leisure phobia cake. We begin with societal pressure as the base. Modern work culture glorifies constant productivity, and doing nothing feels like falling behind, leading to a sense of inadequacy. Next, we layer on some perfectionism. Many of us, students especially, set impossibly high standards for ourselves, believing that if we're not constantly achieving, we're failing or wasting time. And the icing on the cake is the neurological factors at play. Our brains love the dopamine hit of checking off a task, but during free time without those so-called wins, we struggle to find satisfaction, making stillness feel uncomfortable. Sounds like a pretty awful cake. Interestingly, we've even optimized leisure time. During vacation, for instance, we often cram in countless activities and excursions to make them feel worth it, even if that's not how we actually want to enjoy our well-earned break. Which takes us back to that initial question. Harvard psychologist Dr. Daniel Gilbert placed participants in a room with two options. Do absolutely nothing for 15 minutes, just sitting there with your thoughts, or press a button that delivered an electric shock. Racked with discomfort, a surprising number, around 66% of men and 25% of women, chose to shock themselves. Even repeatedly. One man pressed the button over 190 times. But I suspect something else might have been going on with him. When I first came across this bizarre study, I realized that there's a whole other kind of free time anxiety, the kind everybody experiences, not just students like me. That's why so many of us turn to our pocket-sized distractions and other external stimulants the minute we have nothing to do. Doing nothing, being bored, forces us to confront our innermost thoughts, the uncomfortable ones that make us scrunch our faces and shudder at even the thought of them, the existential ones. And that's what the researchers concluded in their study. Without anything better to do, we start digging through the old, dusty files that live deep within the recesses of our brains. When we're busy, we feel successful, like we're climbing a ladder. But when we sit still, we feel like we aren't making any progress at all. We're left alone with questions like, what am I actually climbing toward? And those are the questions that scare us. But slowing down doesn't mean abandoning ambition. It means creating space to make sure your ambition is pointed in the right direction. Because doing nothing isn't laziness or a flaw, it's a skill. And if we never practice it, we may spend our entire lives climbing, achieving, producing, checking boxes, only to realize at the very top that our ladder was leaning against the wrong wall. It's a new perspective on an old truth. Doing less might be the only way to feel more. So next time you have 15 empty minutes, don't try to fill them. And definitely don't reach for the shock. Because sometimes the best thing you can do is nothing at all. Thank you.
That was cool, right? That's going to trend on TikTok for sure.
Thank you so much.
TikTok. I mean, thank you, Anish. What how refreshing was that? At 17. I wasn't doing that at 17, I promise you that. All right, so we're going to shift into a more difficult conversation because we are the epicenter of women's sports. Did you guys know that? Okay, so I'm going to ask you guys. Portland is the epicenter of women's sports. Yes! I'm going to pay you all with these fake flowers in a second. One of the biggest things is the woman coming up, Amy, she has challenged the norm. She has pushed the envelope, and I think here in Portland, these conversations are important. It'll make you think differently if you have a young child in sports, but most importantly, she has the ability to take difficult conversations and make it something we all want to hear more of. So please welcome the great Amy to the stage. Come on out here, Amy. Woo! Here we go, girl. You go do your thing.
Every story of abuse begins the same way, not with obvious abuse, but with trusting. A coach who believes in an athlete, a teacher who sees potential, a mentor who says, "You're special." Often these words are sincere, but sometimes support and encouragement are the first threads in a web. Some of you may find this topic difficult, and I promise it's easier to learn about it now than to have you or a loved one live through it later. And for those of you who have lived through it or are living through it, I hope you'll feel supported. Most of us recognize blatant abuse, yelling, hitting, sexual touching. But the sad reality is that abuse rarely begins with obvious transgressions. It begins with attention, encouragement, possibility. In other words, grooming. Grooming is the predatory act of manipulating an individual to make them isolated and dependent, and thus vulnerable to increasingly abusive behavior. Studies grossly underreport child sexual abuse, and they almost completely neglect grooming. And for context, here are a few stats. The U.S. Department of Education states that 1 in 10 children is groomed during their K through 12 education. And this statistic doesn't account for grooming in other settings. The CDC Fast Facts page says 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 20 boys are victims of child sexual abuse. And 91% of perpetrators are someone known and trusted by the child and the child's family. It's often believed that grooming leads to abuse, but grooming is abuse, covert emotional abuse. In fact, data from the International Olympic Committee indicates that psychological abuse is as harmful or more harmful than physical or sexual abuse, and it's more likely to lead to PTSD and dissociation. Children and adults are susceptible to grooming in any setting where someone with power is trusted with someone else's well-being. Sports, schools, religious communities, the arts, businesses, and even families. Abusers are like sneaky spiders. They weave their webs one shimmering thread at a time, intentionally, delicately, almost invisibly. They may take months or even years to groom their victim. I am a physician, mother, and former Stanford gymnast. I've devoted my professional life to helping people thrive physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And I'm an expert in how sneaky spiders groom their prey. Because I'm a survivor, I prefer surthriver, of decades of abuse by a former coach. The coach who abused me was not an athletic coach, but a life coach. And the abuse was not physical or sexual, but financial and emotional. You may wonder, why didn't I, as a med student, realize I was being abused? But here's the thing. While it was happening, her grooming didn't feel like abuse. It felt like support, guidance, love. Big red flag. Initially, the coach promised she would help me achieve my goals, fulfill my potential, evolve. And then, over time, she instilled an intense fear that I couldn't realize my dreams without her. Bigger red flag. After 3 decades, I asked to graduate to end the coaching relationship, but she declared that I could not. Biggest red flag. Then she conveniently claimed that I had serious memory issues and that I needed her ongoing support. When I pushed back, she insisted I get a full neuropsychological evaluation. It never occurred to me that her concerns about my well-being were a ploy to maintain control. She'd coached me to be compliant, and I still truly believed that she had my best interests at heart, so I followed her suggestion. The neuropsychologist conducted extensive testing and interviewed both the coach and my husband. Ultimately, the neuropsychologist determined the coaching relationship was a relationship of undue influence, also known as covert emotional abuse, or coercive control, or, drum roll please, grooming. The diagnosis and fallout shattered me. Someone I had loved and trusted with all my heart had been using and abusing me for decades. Suddenly, the light shifted, and I saw the manipulative patterns she had woven to trap me. Once I saw her web, I realized something even more disturbing. Every abusive coach, music teacher, tutor, boss, life partner, and cult leader weaves a similar web to trap their victims. Let's take abusive coaches grooming athletes. Abusers weave their webs using several powerful threads. The three primary threads are specialness, fear, isolation. Three forces that, when woven together, can trap even the most capable, intelligent people, let alone our vulnerable children. The first thread a sneaky spider weaves into their web is specialness. In other words, grooming begins subtly, with behaviors designed to evoke connection and excitement. You're one of the best athletes I've ever coached. You're so lucky to be training with me. I will make your dreams come true. These words sound supportive, but in the context of grooming, they're designed to create what psychologists call the chosen one effect. The child feels seen, understood, cherished. Another way abusers make victims feel special is by love bombing them. Love bombing is specialness on steroids. It includes behaviors like texting or messaging a child individually, offering a child private sessions or a ride home, giving a child little treats or extravagant gifts, and inviting the child on fun outings. These actions seem generous, but they're manipulative. The second thread is fear. Not obvious fear, at least not at first. Abusers alternate manufacturing experiences of intimacy with feelings of escalating dread. You can be a champion if you do what I say. Maybe you just don't have what it takes. If you leave me, you will be a failure, a nobody. The sneaky spider weaves the specialness and fear together on purpose. It's very, very confusing. The athlete feels special. The athlete trusts the coach. The athlete doubts himself. The athlete believes he needs the coach. He feels afraid of the coach, afraid of leaving the coach, and even afraid of his own fear, afraid that his fear, rather than the coach's abuse, is what is holding him back. Eventually, he's not just entangled, he's encased and paralyzed. The third thread is isolation, psychological isolation. Abusers are terrified of being caught, so they spread rumors and tell lies about anyone who sees the web. An uneasy teammate is a bad influence. Your teammate's bringing you down. Don't hang out with her. A concerned parent is unsupportive. Your dad doesn't understand what it takes to be great. Your mom doesn't really support you, not like I do. The coach's message is, trust me, not them. Eventually, the child ends up emotionally separated from anyone who can show her the web and prove that the coach is a spider, because an isolated victim is easy to trap. Children and adults struggle to see the difference between true mentorship and cruel manipulation. But here's the distinction. True mentors strengthen a child's confidence and independence. Abusers force victims to adore, fear, and depend on them. Most children and parents trust their coaches, and most coaches deserve our trust, really. But unfortunately, sneaky spiders exploit this trust, and grooming isn't isolated to sports, nor is it isolated to children. Adults can be trapped as well. I was. But maybe if as a child I'd been taught to see the threads, I could have escaped the coach's web. Grooming depends on ignorance and silence. The solution is communication and education. One mom told me the girls in her carpool frequently said, "Coach got mad at me again today." It wasn't until she said the magic phrase, "Tell me more," that the girls confided, "Coach is creepy. Coach is a bully. Coach touched my butt 3 times today." Children can't recognize patterns they've never been taught to see. Abuse begins with grooming, and true prevention begins with teaching children to see the shimmering threads in the spider's web: specialness, fear, isolation, almost invisible on their own, devastating when woven together. You have the power to protect your children from abuse. Teach them about sneaky spiders and the webs they weave. Give them precise language for all forms of abuse. A child who can confidently describe abusive behaviors, including grooming and using proper anatomical terms for sexual body parts, is much less likely to be abused. Every time you talk with your child, she learns that it's safe to talk with you about anything. And of course, believe your child when he reports abuse. Finally, demand that your sports clubs, schools, houses of worships, and community organization enact robust prevention protocols. That's a talk for another day. When children and adults understand and talk about grooming, the web is seen, the spider is exposed, and ideally, people remove the spider. Remember, grooming is abuse. Abusers are sneaky spiders. You can empower the children, teens, and young adults in your life to spot the webs they weave. When a child can see the web, she can escape even the sneakiest spider. Together, we can protect our children from abuse and the devastating long-term consequences. Thank you.
Proud of you. Never easy, but she makes it look easy. Thank you, Amy. Grooming is abuse. Wow. So as we transition, I changed my outfit. Don't know if you guys saw it. And I'm a little bit excited about this interview. Just gonna say that. I think I bumped into her in Olympic Village last time. We did this series last year thanks to our folks at KeyBank, Josh, Kellen, and the Dream Team. Where are you guys? I better hear you. He's like hiding right now. Women's Leadership Forum. And we interviewed, last year I got to interview my teammate of 16 years, Christine Sinclair, GOAT in soccer. So we figured we might as well go from one GOAT to another GOAT. And Diana Taurasi, she's here. And let me tell you, we were backstage high-fiving, doing all the things. I'm like, okay, let's get ready. We got to do an interview. So without any more information, no one's here to see me. Let's welcome Diana Taurasi!
How are you guys?
So breaking news that she doesn't know about, Portland Fire has pulled out of retirement and is signing Diana Taurasi. People are like, really? No.
Don't expect much.
We were talking back there about going to the gym, because I remember the first time when I retired, I went to the gym, and I'm like, what do I do? Someone was walking on the treadmill. What are you doing?
Well, we were talking, I'm still training like I'm getting ready for a season, and every time I'm done, I'm like, I don't have to do this anymore. But it's just so part of my routine and something that I've done for so long. You know, it gets my day going. It makes me feel better. So I'm still training like someone's going to come, like you said, and sign me as a free agent, which is not going to happen.
Okay, so let's get right into it. You take away the titles, all of the wins. You're the GOAT. And that's greatest of all time, for those of you who don't know. And she's like, yeah, kind of. But
it's a new thing for some of you guys.
every single day, what actually made you that person?
Wow, when I think about the 20 years of my WNBA career, and even going into UConn, I never played for those things. To me, it was very simple. And I think I got this from my parents and my dad waking up every single morning going to work. You show up to work. And once I got there, it didn't feel like work because I really enjoyed every single moment. But I think the ability to show up every single day and try to be your best, especially when things aren't always going your way, right? We don't always, go into work or go into whatever you're doing feeling great, but can you turn that tide? And to me, that was always the biggest challenge. How can I get to the gym and have the best day possible for our unit? And to me, that was fun.
Did you have to let go of anything? Because you talk about show up, and I love it. I'm taking notes here, too. Are you guys taking your notes? Pull out your book and take notes. It's Diana Taurasi. But, when you have, what are the things you actually have to let go of to let in the ability to become that version of you?
Well, I think you have to accept and open up to change. And that was the one thing. I went to Connecticut, and we won a lot. You go to Connecticut and you win at UConn, you win. And then, I got some Connecticut people in here, okay. It's a long ways. And so I thought I was gonna get to the WNBA and we were just gonna win. We were gonna win every single game and every single championship, and that wasn't reality. So I had to let myself evolve in different ways. And that came with being with different people, seeing how it was done differently, and being able to evolve in those ways where, there's more than one way to become a very successful team. And you have to evolve, because if you don't, things pass you by. I think if you're stuck in your ways, and there are principles that I think we all keep, right? As, professionals, as teammates, as friends, there are core principles that you keep, but it evolves into something different with whatever group you're in.
What are the principles that you keep?
Well, you show up every single day. You respect everyone. And you work your tail off on, you work as hard as you can. There's a lot of people, especially in the basketball world, that are talented.
Yeah.
And even more talented than me, to be honest. There was someone who was more athletic, a better passer, a better shooter, a better rebounder, but I was showing up every single day. And I knew when I was showing up and they weren't, I was getting better. That was the input that I had to make sure that for 20 years, I could play at an elite level.
When you talk about playing at elite level, let's go into the locker room. Leadership, and not everybody here has been in the locker room like you. And I would love to be in a locker room with her, I'm gonna just say that. But what does leadership look like inside of that locker room?
It comes in a different way. I think we love leadership. But to get there, I had to become a great follower. I was a great follower in college. Coach Rukaiyah was someone that I looked up to. All the things that I wanted to be, he instilled in me every single day. And I became this person that thought, well, if he can do it, then I can take all those principles and go into the WNBA and hopefully be a great leader. And to be honest, it's not usually the best player on the team. It's not the loudest player. It's the person who, is willing to say the things that make you uncomfortable, but knowing that they do it every single day.
Yeah.
I think that's the misconception with being the leader. It's the loudest, the best, the smartest, the most talented. No, it's not. It's the person who's, their character always outshines their talent.
And how do you make sure, because you talk about character, which I absolutely agree, but how do you make sure you're the leader that's heard? Because there's a lot of leaders, like you say, it's not always the loudest person. Sometimes it's the person leading from behind, but how do you make sure as a leader people hear what you're saying?
Well, it's easy to say I'm the leader, but if no one's following you, you're really not. you know. And I've been around a lot of players who are like, that's a great leader. Well, no one followed them when they were playing, so were they? What was the question again?
How do you make sure, she didn't even hear my question. How do you make sure as a leader
Yeah.
you're heard?
Well, I think you do it in ways that affects people differently.
Yeah.
Not everyone is the same. Not everyone receives messages the same way. Not everyone processes information the same way. And I think I really understood that the last 4 or 5 years of my career, where I was always the oldest person in the locker room. And, you know, I'm 38 and I'm in the locker room with a 21-year-old. And I'm just like, this is different. I have to find a different way to communicate the things that I think are really, really important, which they don't understand. They didn't understand, you know, 20 years ago, we flew Southwest everywhere. That doesn't that kind of grit build doesn't resonate with them. So I had to find different ways to communicate and lead them in ways that I thought would not only help our team, but help them as, you know, they continue their professional career.
When you talk about that gap, there's things that we're the same generation where, you know, you changed in different change rooms. You rode Southwest. But, like, most importantly, you actually had to learn how to not tolerate things. And then there's a generation coming that they tolerate a lot of things, and then some of the things that we're like, this is just normal, they're like, I don't know about that.
Right.
What are some of the things you refused to tolerate in your career?
Well, I was always one where you're not going to tell me how important I am. That never resonated with me. I didn't put value in what other people thought of me as a person, in my career. That worth came from the people around me that knew me every single day. My family, my teammates, my coaches. Those are the people that was really, really like, I need to prove them right every single day, that they have this confidence in me, and they're putting, you know, this pressure on me. You know, whether it was our owner, our GM, our coaches, I felt that pressure. I wanted to really prove them right every single day. And, you know, and I think that's a little bit sideways now, where with social media and the technology, where you're so worried about what other people think of you, that it affects you in this very core way right now, that healthy or unhealthy, it's something that we have to deal with.
When you talk about leadership, like, what's the difference between a leader that people like and a leader that people follow?
Yeah, I mean, I think when people like you, they're willing to hear hard things. You know, and in saying that, there were times where I hated my coach. And, you know, and I would not like them, but I would respect them. And I would give them the benefit of the doubt. And I would follow, and I would try to do all the things that they were trying to, you know, input into the team. So, you know, to me, it was always really important to have a relationship with everyone. I was always so involved in our unit, in our group. When the season started, that was my family. And, you know, in sports and in business, you recycle teammates, employees, different think groups. I mean, you're in a lot of different settings. And can you immerse yourself in that group with everything you have to, you know, hopefully win a championship, to innovate something new, to solve a problem? To me, that was fascinating.
I love that you talk about innovating and solving a problem. We've got a new WNBA team coming on back here in Portland.
Yes. Yeah.
And we want to be innovative. We want to solve a problem. And this is a city where, like, they show up for women athletes. I mean, I was blessed enough to play for the Thorns, and it's like, it's better than the World Cup and Olympics in some aspects. We have a community. We're already doing really well in sales. But what do we have to get right at this time?
I mean, there's not many franchises that come back on the scene and everyone's happy. When Portland was announced, everyone was happy. You know, I think that is the beauty about this city and this fan base. It's authentic. And you can feel it. You know, the minute I got here this morning, I was like, oh, Portland is cool, man. Like, you know, you just feel that the people here have a sense of community. They're not shy about it. They are who they are. And that's reflected on their sports teams, whether, you know, it's the Thorn and the Blazers and now with the Fire back. I think as a fan base, which is great that you have here, is you have people who love the game, for one. You have people who know the game, which is really important. And I think with knowing the game, you have to give this team a little bit of grace, right? I think everyone wants that instant success. Well, you know, Portland's going to win a championship next year. Well, you know what? They're probably not going to, but I know.
This is awkward.
But the beauty is the hope, right?
Yeah,
the belief that you've put people in these great positions to make sure that this team succeeds, not only this year, but for the next 20 years, and it never goes away.
Yeah.
And, you know, with the hires, and I know people that you've hired, you know, that I went to college with, Ashley Battle, you're hiring winners and champions. And that shows in every single day how they treat people, the team they're going to build, coaching staff, general manager, and that goes all the way up to the ownership. And, you know, and that directly reflects, you know, the culture of you guys as a city.
So much of it is about the people, right?
It's everything.
Yeah.
You know, culture isn't, you know, a tagline. And, you know, when you're in sports, you know, there's always the cliches, right? Integrity, family, together. I don't know, is that a good Ian? I don't know what that is, but. And that's really not what makes the culture. It's the micro. It's how you show up every single day and interact with the strength and conditioning coach, with the security guards, with your teammates. Like, that is the fabric that really builds a culture. And I think it's so important to have the right people in the building, you know, and then the winning will come, and then the talent will come. And when you combine those two things, something special can really happen.
What I love about you is I watched the documentary, and it's just how you've impacted people. And you're known as the villain, right?
Yeah.
And you played that role so well.
Thank you. Well, I would call it the kind-hearted asshole. I think that's better than villain.
But the thing about you is just in talking to people is how you care, how you show up for others. And that probably is why people followed you as a leader. Where did that come from? Because obviously I saw about your Argentinian parents. Like, there's so much of you, but what I don't want you to walk off the stage and people just think about this great basketball player and miss, yes, the villain, but the incredible human that you are.
Well, my parents came here in '78 from Argentina. My dad was born in Italy. He migrated to Argentina after the war, and then they both came here, obviously for the American dream. But little did they know, my sister and I would really benefit from the American dream.
Yeah.
All I remember from them is waking up every single morning, 4:30, and going to work. And for a long time, I didn't really understand why they came here.
Yeah.
You know, they really didn't. They still don't know the language well, but there's this fighting spirit that they had every single day. And I always carried that chip on my shoulder for them. And not only that, we were a close-knit family. We were just super tight, super tight. You know, I would always say I would go to school and I would be in the U.S. and then I would walk into my house and I'd be in Argentina. You know, and then I would go out and I'm like, oh my God, I'm in LA again. And then I would walk right back into my little house and I'm like, oh, I'm in Naples. You know, and I took that to every single team I played on. Like, those are my sisters. That's my family. I'm gonna do anything for you. And I think when you show up like that for people, you know, you act different. You can find this level of just love and trust, and you go the extra mile when you really like someone, when you really trust in them, when you know they're doing it for the right way. And I always hoped I brought that to a team and to every setting that I'm in.
I love it. I mean, I'm from an immigrant family as well too, and when you see your parents sacrifice a lot for you, you just want to go the extra mile. And showing up is so important in life because, like, that's 90% of life. It's like showing up for people. So let's think of the young girl who's in Portland right now. She is growing up in a city that's the epicenter of women's sports. You like that? But
that's not on the teleprompter either.
It's not. It's basically just tattooed on me. What do you say to her? Because you carry weight. I mean, you see this audience, it's all ages. But the little young girl who's like, she's in our city right now. What do you tell her?
Find your passion. work through your passion, the ups and the downs. You know, I think sometimes we want to write the story, but we haven't even written the title.
Yeah.
You know, you have to really go through life and you understand what you really love, what you don't enjoy, and do it not for what is at the end of the road. It's really not that important, and it's cliche, right? The journey, but that's really what it's about. Like, as you go through it, all the people that you meet. And as a little kid, the best thing that happened to me as a little kid is my parents had no clue what basketball was. No clue. Go to practice, go to the game. You hungry? Yeah. Go to practice, go to the game. You want to go to your aunt and uncle's? Sure. Like, there wasn't this embedded pressure to be greater, to get us out of the hood, or all these things. Like, they just really nurtured me in what I love to do. And to be honest, the first time I retired from basketball, I was in 5th grade because I loved soccer. That was my passion. Yeah. 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 That was my, like I wanted to be Gabriel Batistuta.
Well, you're Argentinian.
And I
right,
wanted to be
you know.
Mia Hamm. I wanted to be Julie Foudy.
yeah.
I wanted to be those people. I saw
Yeah.
them in, you know, at the World Cup and the Rose Bowl. Like, that was my passion for so long. And then I started playing basketball, and the culture of basketball I just loved so much. You know, that 90s basketball, which, you know, in Portland was a crazy, right? Like, with Clyde Drexler and Terry Porter and Kevin Duckworth. I mean, right? Those are like, yeah. And I was a Laker fan.
Again.
So, you know, basketball just was, it was more than a sport to me. It was like my well-being.
Yeah.
It's what made me feel great. It's what made me feel like I was, you know, on cloud 9. So it wasn't the, you know, what I can get from basketball, which I think right now it's like, you know, there's just so much weight on these kids at such an early age, and I just tell them, enjoy it.
Yeah.
What will come, will come.
I mean, basketball was my first love too.
See?
But soccer worked out. I think the biggest thing though is there's so much pressure on this next generation to choose early. And what you're talking about is you almost had balance to escape from expectations. What is your fear about this next generation of it's like, you've got to choose this and this has to be your lane?
Yeah, it's become so specialized so quickly. I'm sure a lot of people here in the audience, and when you grew up, if it was, you know, if tennis was on TV, I'd go outside and play tennis.
Yeah.
If it was baseball season, I'd go play baseball and softball. Basketball season, basketball. So, like, you had an opportunity to really get into the weeds about every little sector of sport, and then you would eventually go on the path of what you really enjoyed. But, you know, right now they paint such a broad stroke on kids early, right? Great basketball player, you're only playing basketball. We need to get you a trainer. We need to get you. Well, let the kid go outside and play.
Yeah.
Explore, be creative. I think that was some of the most influential times of my life when I would just get my basketball and go to the park and play by myself.
Love it.
No cones, no trainers,
Freedom.
no parents, just by myself. And I could really explore what the game made me happy. I enjoyed doing that.
Yeah.
You know, and then you go to college and the pros, and it gets boring.
Or trash talking. I'm like,
Oh, that.
you know she's queen of trash talking, right? Who actually has matched you?
You know, it's funny. When I talk trash, it's to myself. That's what people don't understand. When I was on the court, and if it was either with the ref or another play, it was almost doing it to get myself going.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah, it's kind of
Because you wanted to like
it was,
level up.
It was for me. It was
Okay.
for me, and it was for my teammates to be like, it's okay to get going.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's
Sometimes
okay
you
to
need that
push the
little-
limit.
Yeah, I like that.
You know, and in women's sports, we're always, you know, for a long time, if you had to fit a little box of like, you know, this is how you play, and you stay in your little box, and if you're too, you know, boisterous, oh my God, she's just a pain in the butt, and it's like, it's okay.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm Argentinian, it's kind of what we do. Have you watched the World Cup? We will flop until we can raise that World Cup championship.
Fair enough. Good luck this summer. All right, so talking about...
I'm wearing it.
All right, rapid fire. Song that you instantly go to get in the zone.
Ooh, Hit 'Em Up by Tupac.
Okay. Hey, that's a hey. Pre-game superstition that you still don't break.
Wow. I have this OCD about hairspray in my bun, and I can't even go through the.
Is it there right now?
I did it to get ready for today.
Can I touch?
You can touch.
Oh, it's there.
It's there.
What's a loss that sticks with you?
Ooh, I think the one that really set up my whole career and the way I went about my career was my freshman year at Connecticut. We played Notre Dame in the semifinal game. And I think I probably had the worst game of my life. I was like 1 for 15, one for 11 from 3. And I think it was the first time I was on this stage where it crumbled me. I really felt the pressure, and I felt that I just wasn't good enough. So I got back to campus, and coach told me I wasn't good enough, and that kind of just really propelled me to dig in and just be obsessed with the game.
Because there's no such thing as failure, right?
No, I mean, it is if you keep failing. You know, then you got to turn it around. Turn it around.
I get it. All right. Let's go with sneakers. Favorite sneaker?
Mine is the 1995 Up-Tempo.
Oh. Group chat. Are you active, or are you just somebody swiping through, or you delete it?
No, I'm active, but I'm the one that, like, I'll chime in, and then everyone else stays quiet. I'm just like, was it that controversial? I'm like, why is everyone quiet now? So, I don't know. I'm usually the period.
Should I ask you your biggest pet peeve, or is that your biggest pet peeve?
No. You know what my biggest pet peeve is? I love home renovation.
Oh.
I hate watching people do their own wallpaper. It does not make me feel well, because you know it's not going to turn out very well. Like, I'm like, you know, you're going to have to redo it. Just get a pro to do it. And, you know, they're trying to do the ceiling, and it's like fall. It just gives me such anxiety. I don't know. I hate it. I hate it.
This is where the failure comes in twice,
I hate
right?
it.
Favorite movie you watch over and over again?
Bronx Tale.
Oh. Last show you binge watched?
Secession.
Oh. When you are, do you cook?
I cook. Penny's more the cooker. I'm more of the dishwasher loader.
So the answer's no. Favorite post-game meal?
Probably a good pie, right? Really nice pizza, like.
Okay.
Yeah, vegan, of course.
Vegan.
Yeah.
And gluten-free?
No, gluten-free, that's for the birds. I mean, when they can figure out how to make gluten-free taste good, I think we're going to be in a really good spot. I feel bad for the celiacs.
Some of it
who
tastes
wants
good.
cauliflower crust all the time?
It tastes good.
You like it?
Yeah.
I don't know,
I like it all. A leader or mentor that inspires you?
Oh, wow. You know, obviously my parents are they're in my, DNA, obviously. And I always go back to Coach Rama because those years were the influence he had on me, because he knew me. For some reason, he just knew what buttons to press to make me, just keep pushing, especially on the days where he would fight me. And I didn't understand it early, but now I understand it's Coach Rama. He really just shaped the way I, really go about life. You didn't ask me favorite book.
Well, I just didn't want to assume you read.
Well, no, I got the notes that were like, D doesn't read. I'm like, who's up? So I read Humanize, which is an architecture book. You guys should read it.
Hey,
Humanize, it's called. Great book.
She just corrected me. Well, it's so funny because this is not on here, but you've stepped into the next chapter of your life, and people call it the first death for an athlete. But now that you've tasted this and you see your impact and your reach, what is it that you want people to say about you?
Ooh. You know, it's funny you said the death. I feel like I've been reborn because I was so in one lane for so long, and now I've stepped away. And what I've learned is there's so many amazing people that do so many different things that are just as passionate, that put their whole life into it. I thought it was just me. And it's so cool to see all these other things in life, the way people think, the way they go about their business. It's been just truly amazing.
What are you learning and unlearning about yourself right now?
I'm learning that I'm better with a routine. I'm learning that it's okay to say I'm not doing anything. It's okay. It's okay to give yourself some grace. And when someone asks you, what are you going to do next? I don't know. I'm not doing anything right now. I'm really enjoying my time with my family, with my friends, giving back to them all the energy they gave me during my career, because I feel like it was one-sided for a long time, and I'm giving it all back to them now.
You're being present.
I am.
Well, we want to thank you. Yes. I get to sit down with some pretty cool people, but you know, this has been pretty cool. And it's not only what you've done in your sport, but what you've done for women's sports. You've transcended the game. You've inspired so many. I was inspired just looking at you when I used to just see you on the television, but look at these people here. You inspire us all to want to go out and not fail twice. But go out and just be the DT version of ourselves. So be a villain when you need to, be warm when you need to, but shine and make people better off because they were in your presence. Thank
Appreciate
you so
it,
much.
guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was so much fun. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, thank
Bye,
you.
guys.
Wait, come back here. Hey, come back. Get up. Get up. No, I'm going to stand. You get your moment.
I feel like I'm in like Broadway. What do they do? Thank you, guys.
All right, thanks, girl. All right. DT just told me she loved me. All right. The sports section. We're going to have lunch in a second, but my girl is next, Jenny. You know, Jenny, when I moved back to Portland in the GM and president position, Jenny was one of the first people we sat down with. And I remember just having a conversation with her because she was just starting up the sports bra thing. And the bravery, the knowing of just trusting your gut, living in your lane and nailing it. And it's just been a pleasure to spend time with her. It's been a pleasure to watch her business grow. But most importantly, today she's going to share with you some stuff that you don't usually see. So welcome her, be warm to her, love her like we always do. And, you know, we are who we are in Portland. People know more about us because of people like her doing what she's doing. So, Jenny! I don't want to mess with you. Appreciate you.
I was born and raised right here in Portland, Oregon. Growing up as an only child and first-generation Vietnamese American, there was a lot of expectations. My parents had kind of taught me that assimilation was the key to the American dream. Fit in, don't rock the boat, do as you're told, get good grades, and everything will be fine. For a long time, that worked great for me. This is me. This is the beginning of my senior year. I was a homecoming princess. I was popular at school. I was a 4-year varsity basketball player. I was gregarious. I got along with people. I used humor to break down all the barriers. I had a great time. I was a good student. I studied really hard. I got straight A's. The thing about fitting in and living up to other people's expectations is that it oftentimes means leaving your most authentic self out. I had this life that I was living, but there was a whole other part of me that was hidden to everyone else and also to myself. My journey is about letting go and the pieces of myself I found when I did it. Later on that year, I started dating somebody on my basketball team secretly. We didn't tell our friends, we didn't tell our family. I felt as if I had to live a double life. As the year was coming to a close, it was tearing me apart inside. So much so to the point I felt as if I had to come out. When I did, it felt as if I no longer fit in. It felt as if the idea of the image of the perfect daughter had disappeared. But once I let that go, it also felt as if a whole world opened up to me for a more authentic version of myself to step through. Now, coming summer that year, I was looking forward to something else really huge, living out my dream of being a college basketball player. About 2 weeks before tip-off of my very first freshman college game, I was at an open gym and I blew out my ACL. It was devastating. I remember being on the floor of the gym, holding my knee, thinking, this is it, my life is over. My entire identity was wrapped up in basketball. I didn't know who I would be without it. The next year, my freshman year in college, was full of despair and turmoil. I didn't know who I was. But while I rehabbed my knee, I also found a way to recalibrate my internal compass. Even though my college dream of playing basketball was shattered, when I learned to let go of it, I was able to rediscover these other parts of who I was. I refound my love of art, poetry, nature, photography, all these different things that I had as hobbies growing up. They would always be a part of my life, but they really took a back seat to basketball. And so as I isolated myself in my freshman year, I fell back into this, and I discovered that I was more than just basketball. And then when I moved away to college, it was my sophomore year, and I discovered something entirely new. And it started with homesickness. And not homesick in the traditional sense, but like, I missed home cooking. So growing up, Mom cooked almost every meal at home. And we ate dinner around the dinner table almost every night. And I didn't realize how rare that was until I moved away to college. And sure, my first year I was eating pizza, burgers, lasagna, and I was like, this is the best. And then my second year I was like, oh my gosh, I miss Mom's cooking. So I phone her up and I'm like, hey Mom, can I have some recipes of my favorite dishes that you made while I was growing up? And she'd be like, who's this? Because I never once wanted to cook anything. I just wanted to play basketball. So I told her a little bit about what I was going through and how homesick I was. So she, reluctantly gave me some recipes and was kind of like, good luck, click. But, I was living in the dorms, and my dorm room shared a wall with the dorm kitchen, so a communal kitchen. And I started cooking there. And I was cooking for myself, home-cooked meals, and then I was cooking for my girlfriend, and then my girlfriend's friends, and then my friends, and then all the girls in the dorm. And then suddenly I was cooking 5-course meals, 7-course meals, and things got out of hand, clearly. But my girlfriend that I was dating at the time, she goes, Jenny, I feel like the only time I ever see you truly be yourself and truly be happy is when you're playing basketball or when you're cooking. Have you ever thought about being a chef? And I was like, no way, my parents would literally kill me. Because mind you, I was in my second year of pre-med, because clearly, if I wasn't gonna be a WNBA player, I was gonna do whatever my parents wanted me to be, which was a doctor, of course. So fast forward to the end of my sophomore year, and I phone up my parents and I say, Mom, Dad, I don't wanna be a doctor, I wanna be a chef. And that conversation went really poorly. In fact, it went worse than my coming out conversation. Because honestly, like when I came out, I think deep down, even though my parents didn't accept it then, deep down they understood that that wasn't a choice. I was born that way. But this was a choice. And that conversation went back and forth over the phone, and I think at one point my dad said, "We didn't cross over an entire ocean, flee a war-torn country, work 6 jobs to put you through college so that you could be a cook." And then finally, in exasperation, he gave me some of the best advice that he could have given me. Even though I think it was a fear tactic, it turned on him. He said, "Listen, why don't you get the worst job you can think of in your field, do it for a year, and if you want that to be your life, then go for it." So that's what I did. I thought, what's the worst job? Red Robin. So I had a friend who was working at Red Robin. I said, "Hey, Kat, what's the worst job there?" And she goes, "Fryer boy." So that's not, obviously, its technical term, but that was the job. It was an 8-hour shift running the fryers. Running them, cleaning them, all of it. So I was like, sign me up. So I take this position. It's 6 fryers, 12 baskets, no tickets, all verbal calls. It was brutal. And as soon as that ticket machine was cranking, I was hooked. So I spent 2.5 years at Red Robin, moved up, graduated college, moved back to Portland, enrolled in culinary school, did that full-time while working full-time in fine dining. And then I ran the gamut: dishwasher, prep cook, line cook, lead line, sous chef, until I eventually became an executive chef at Reed College in Southeast Portland. This is where I found out something called PTO. And they were like, "We'll pay you for 2 weeks to go somewhere else." And I was like, "What?" Okay. So I decided to take a 2-week trip to Vietnam with my parents. And it was my first time going, and I had no expectations for this trip. But I wanted to eat well, and I wanted to see where my parents grew up. Now, I did both of those things, but something else happened while I was in Vietnam. I felt more at home halfway across the world than I did back here. It was as if the heritage and the culture had embraced me, that I belonged to something bigger. There was a community, and I felt seen. I came back from Vietnam, this is me, with a whole new perspective about what I wanted from my life. But I wasn't sure what that was. It just wasn't what I was doing. And so I decided to leave my career that I had spent over 15 years building. I'd gotten to my dream job as an executive chef, and I walked away from it. And what that did was, it was scary. But what that did was it created space. It created space for me to dream, and dream really big. And I had this crazy idea. And this crazy idea had been simmering in my mind for several years. It was having a sports bar that centered women's sports. And I wanted to call it the Sports Bra. Now, the Sports Bra brought together all the different parts of who I am. My passion for basketball, my love of food and cooking, and my desire for authentic connection and community. The definition of home isn't always a place that you return to. It's where you belong. We spend our entire lives going through loss, grief, pain, what ifs, if onlys. But letting go is an art form. It takes practice, gumption, courage. By building the bra, I was able to put all the pieces of myself together to build something for myself. I built myself a home. where I belong, where I've always belonged. I was able to find community, find space, find belonging. But not only that, but I built a space for everybody. For anyone who's ever been an athlete, for anyone who's ever felt isolated or alone, for anyone who ever felt like they had to live a double life just to survive. At the Sports Bra, you can find community. You can find acceptance. When we learn to let go, we make room for more. We make room to find a place where we belong. And that, to me, is the ultimate homecoming. I challenge you, I urge you to imagine what you could do if you let go. Imagine your life without limits, without expectations, without fear. This is your life. If there's one thing you take from my talk today, let it be this: it is never too late to come home. Thank you.
Let's go. Jenny, you are a Portland icon. So excited to see this sports bar all over the country. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right, guys, it's almost lunchtime. I'm Luis, and I have the privilege of being your host for the afternoon. Karina had the responsibility of helping the greatest women's basketball player of all time get to the airport. So I came out a little bit early. Anyone that has a reservation with Caldera, just check in with the desk, the same one when you arrived. And what a morning. Go Portland, go Humans. Enjoy your break, recharge, and we are so excited for the afternoon that is about to unfold. Thanks, everybody.